Today's topic is on ending sibling fight. And I'm very careful about the words I use to pick titles and things because I don't want them to be misleading. But I did choose this one intentionally because I do believe that you can end sibling fights according to the way I define it. Now, will you end all sibling conflict? No. Will you end all bickering? No. But can you end fighting? I think so. Yes.
100%.
Yes. Now, just to emphasize the other side a little bit, there's going to be conflict in life. You can't live with other humans without some sort of conflict because we're not perfect and we don't always agree. Learning how to navigate conflict is a very important skill that we want to learn and we want to teach our kids. But we can eliminate fighting because fighting is not productive, it's only damaging. So we're going to talk about how do we end sibling fighting.
So just on that note, you guys just there's going to be conflict and just do a quick assessment on yourself. How do you navigate conflict? Some of you might be conflict avoiders. All the coaching we do every day, people come to us and they're like, oh, yeah, that's me. I'll do anything to avoid any conflict. And then there's some people who are like drawn to conflict. It's almost like they like it. They get some kind of dopamine hit from the battle, right? And some of you are fighters, man. And so you're going to have kids that are fighters, or you're going to have kids that do anything to avoid conflict because they hate it. So just kind of, it's an opportunity to take a quick assessment. It's like, okay, how do I navigate conflict? Because conflict's not going away, like Rachel's saying. So learning how to navigate it well and teach our kids to do it is so tough.
I want to emphasize we don't want it to go away because if you have a well adjusted, emotionally healthy person, that doesn't come from avoiding all conflict. In fact, that just makes you actually weaker and underdeveloped. So we want the conflict. We just want it to be productive conflict that develops us rather than like, what did I
You
say
don't have
before?
to
What was
fight.
the word I used about fighting? Fighting is destructive, I guess, or traumatizing. We don't want that and unproductive. So that's the point. Okay. So we're going to start out with the painful part because as we've learned,
Our favorite.
I know on this journey of parenting, it can be painful because we have to sometimes hold up a mirror and look in the mirror and say, I'm the problem, right? And so we're going to kind of start out with that part a little bit, but I want you to embrace this process of it because I truly believe, I'm not just saying this, I truly believe it's a beautiful thing because it's not only helping our children, which is what we're after, what we want to help our children, but it's helping us. It's helping us to grow and develop and become a better person. And that is going to help our children like more than you'll ever know. The better of a person you become, the more your children are going to respect you, the more they're going to want to have your influence in their life, the more they're going to listen to you. Like all of this is in your benefit. So it doesn't have to be a bad thing to look in the mirror and recognize here's how I'm contributing to the problem, right? That's one of the best things we can do. So, as we begin this discussion about ending sibling fights, we have to kind of reframe the problem. We're going from, and you guys can tell me or just think it in your head, like, how do you define sibling fighting right now? Is it just, oh, it's bad behavior? It's kids being kids? It's just annoying? Like, think about it. How do you see the problem right now? Is it just something that interrupts your day? Unavoidable? Like, there's words and a story we're already telling ourselves about this issue. But I want you to start with that. And then we're going to reframe it and look at it in a completely different way because that's the first step to actually creating change and ending it. So instead of whatever word or phrase or idea you have in your head, I want you to think about this in a new way. And that is essentially, and you can come up with different imagery depending on what works for you. One image is this is a mirror. Another image might be it's a magnifying glass. Another is maybe it's a telescope or it's a petri dish. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is that the sibling fighting that's occurring in your home is a microcosm of the overall family culture and environment, and is a microcosm of how I and we as parents handle problems and emotions. Because we've talked about before, children imitate without regulations. And they imitate and they exaggerate without regulation. Because the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that handles regulate emotional regulation, it's not fully developed. So they watch us, then they imitate us, but they exaggerate it because they lack a prefrontal cortex. Now, this doesn't mean that whatever you see your kids doing is exactly what you have done, but it does mean that they are watching you. They're watching you from the moment they are born. And in fact, they're even paying attention in the womb, and they're learning how to do everything from you. So they learn how to walk, they learn how to talk, but they also learn how to act out anger, how to act out frustration, how to act out love, how to act out disappointment. But they are exaggerating it because they lack the prefrontal cortex development.
Or sometimes misapplying it.
Yes.
So they see you apply it somewhere else, think, oh, I know, now I know what to do when I get irritated or bothered, or I don't like something, I'll do that. But, they misapply it and
Well,
misuse
because
it.
in some ways, the most common place for them to apply it is with sibling interactions. Because where are they going to experience most of their negative emotion? In family interaction. So
In the boundaries, the personal space, and the belongings, right?
all of those interactions that are going on. Wait, I want to add this: fighting equals a disrespectful aim at hurting another with words or actions. So it's essentially, that's the framework she has, that fighting means they're being disrespectful and trying to hurt you.
Which I like that framework because here's conflict, and then the fighting is just another level of disrespect and intent to hurt with words or actions. Yeah.
Exactly.
So now fighting's like, "Oh, that was unnecessary. That's too much. That was very ineffective and hurtful. That went too far." So instead of handling conflict, it went to some kind of disrespect or hurt.
Now, of course, the painful part of this is when we look at this and say, well, wait a second, have I been doing that? Right? Have I been intentionally disrespecting and trying to hurt other people? And at first we're like, no, I'm not trying to do that. But very often, and this is true for me, I know at least, I think it's true for you. If you look closely, even if it's not intentional, and even if we're not conscious of it, this is why I say that can be a mirror. We begin to realize they're like, wait a second, I have done that. In fact, I did it. The guest that was staying up here, and I wanted to strangle him. This recently happened. And you begin to notice that, yeah, I have been doing those things. And my children have been paying attention. They've been watching, they've been listening, and now they're imitating. Now, I'm not going to say that we are the only source of this. That's not true, because they do also pick it up from grandparents or cousins or kids at school or
Gosh, movies and
right?
cartoons.
So
Have you guys noticed that? Media, kids pick up media something and like some serious sass. And I'm like, whoa,
right.
okay, where'd that come from? Because I know that one never came from right here. Like, where'd you pick that up?
Yeah. So that also, of course, plays into it. I'm not saying it's all on us, it's all our fault, blah, blah, blah. But I am saying that we do have to pay careful attention and notice if that mirror for us, because the most powerful impact we're going to have is when we lead out on changing our own behavior. I mean, hands down for us, that has been the biggest factor.
So write that down. If you get nothing from us all day today or all week, like get that one down. The biggest impact that we can have on ending sibling fights is by improving our behavior. It is massive. We don't often think that, right? Because we're trying to do symptom management. The symptom is the fight, but we're trying to get back to the cause or the root or really long lasting change of source. Or we're going back to the source. And when we improve our behavior, it trickles down to the kids in a massive, beautiful way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen this as well. I'll notice that one of my children is doing something to their siblings, and I'm realizing like they're literally modeling the way I interact with that child. I have it under control. I have it managed, right? I am doing it appropriately, but they're
So the
imitating
child
it.
says, I'll do
I know
it
how,
too.
yeah, I know how to do this. Watched mom doing this. And then
And they just trickle it down. Okay, who's smaller than me? I'll do that.
right.
Do that.
Um, I, this is kind of a funny one, actually. I noticed that Greg and I started this habit of when our children were doing something we didn't like, we would call them child. We would say, Child, why are you doing
I
that?
don't even remember this.
Oh, I do. Because then our teens picked up on it and they started calling our little ones that child. Stop doing that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I stopped doing it because I was like, I don't really like that. It's not very respectful, right? So it's just little things like that. We just start paying attention. We're like, oh, yeah, okay. So that's the reframing essentially that I want to start with here. Ultimately, remembering that the fighting and the things that are going on is essentially a reflection of the overall family climate. And if we change the family climate, then we change the fighting. Well, essentially, what we do is we change the conflict resolution. We change it to be effective, productive resolution instead of hurtful, disrespectful, unproductive conflict. Now, in this process, we also have to remember we're not trying to eliminate all conflict. So that comes as part of the reframing because as parents, especially as moms, where we want all peace and loving, smiling, happy children all the time, we're tempted to interfere when there's conflict going on. But I've learned to like, okay, I need to allow some conflict, which means, yeah, sometimes there's going to be a little bit of sassiness or a little bit of imperfect voices. But that's okay. As long as it doesn't cross certain boundaries, I'm going to let it flow because they're practicing conflict resolution. Now, I can give them skills, which we're going to talk about, giving them the skills, but we have to reframe it and not always view it as a bad thing unless they're doing it in a way that's unproductive. Okay.
So just quickly to think through this is how's your relationship with your siblings? How do you interact with the neighbors? How do you talk about telemarketers? How do you talk about government workers? How do you handle your trips to the DMV? The TSA agents. So you just start thinking through all the times like, are you angry, frustrated, bitter, explosive? Like how do you behave and start looking at that because the kids are absorbing that and then they'll use it with each other.
And it's also, though, not about being perfect or not experiencing those emotions. Like that's a part of the human experience. The goal is to model appropriate expression of those emotions in a way that we feel comfortable having our children imitate. And sometimes it's appropriate to get angry.
Yes. See, okay, you just hit it for me.
Mhm.
So when I'm frustrated with something, I just pause for a second and say, I need to respond to this in a way that I would be okay with my children responding to each other. Wow, isn't that a cool framework? At least it is for me. So, I'm in some situation of conflict, interacting with government workers, let's say, for example, and it's like, okay, well, the way I respond here with my kids watching is likely a way they're going to respond to each other in a frustrating situation. So I'm like, I need to handle this so that they go, okay, I know how to handle conflict.
Well, and
Love that.
which in a nuanced way, we'll just mention this for a second. One of the ways we do that is we try to treat the people we're interacting with respect, even if we get angry later about the rules or the bureaucracy. Like we'll go off about that, but we try to not do that to the person because they're just doing their job. So that's something we try to model to our kids. It's like, okay, I'm going to treat this person with respect. It doesn't mean I'm like, maybe perfectly happy with them, but I'm trying to be respectful. And later we'll talk about the stupidity of the bureaucracy or the rule or the thing that's made us mad, right? So it's a separation. So they learn, oh, okay, there's a difference between how you treat someone and how you feel about a thing. It's a separate.